in any game is probably recent. It's in Dragon Quest XI, because you remember how in Dragon Quest XI there's pretty like stock archetypal characters for the most part. Like there's like the good witch who has healing magic, and she's not good and bad, but there's like the witch who has destruction magic and the witch who has healing magic. There's like the old sage, there's the martial arts girl, there's you, the main character, Prince Chosen One dude, and your thief best friend, and the stoic knight. And then just rounding out the cast, there's the mysterious noble jester who is a master of juggling and sword fighting, and also has perfect eyelashes, who was raised to be a traditional nobleman but left under mysterious circumstances because there were just parts of his personality that his father could not understand. And they never say explicitly what that is, but we assume it's related in somewhat to his desire to, have perfect eyelashes and, wear the most crazy, Lady Gaga-esque outfits of anyone in the game, male or female. But they don't actually say what, they have all of those stereotypes. The subtext could not be any more text, but they won't actually just take the last step of saying, here's what the deal is with this guy.
So that's another one of those games I want to replay, but it's just so long. I never actually finished the epilogue chapter, and so I guess that's the reason I have to go back from the start and replay it, because there's a special edition which I bought, but I bought the version on the Switch, which probably isn't as good as the version I could get on the PS5, so I better buy it again and start from scratch so I get the best experience. Hi, my name is Nick.
And I'm Kyle.
And this is a show where we talk about important issues like the ones I've presented before you, but we're also supposed to talk about this television show, as is the premise of our show. The television show is The Big Bang Theory. We talk about it. That's why you're listening to The Big Bang Theory. And I had to double check because I thought his name might be Sylvain. It's Sylvando. And he kicks ass. He kicks so much ass.
Oh, he's arguably like the best, like when the calamity happens and everyone else is like, oh, I need to have a long dark night of the soul. He's like, what I need to do is go from town to town recruiting people to a traveling circus to bring joy to the universe in these dark times.
Yeah, like they never come right out and say he's gay or, queer, anything of the like, but you're right, as far as the coding goes, and there's something about it, like, whether it is implicit cultural homophobia or whether it's just, I don't know, I was going to say even the sexy lady character, I guess they never say she's straight, but I guess it's implied. But something I was thinking just now as you're bringing him up is, it made me think about Bayonetta, because you look at Sylvando and it's like, he's big time, like, flamboyant, like, over-the-top gay. Like, this is someone that, like, I would look at in other contexts and be like, this is some sort of culturally insensitive stereotype. But the fact that he exists so loud and proud in Dragon Quest, I'm like, fuck yeah, Sylvando, live your life. You kick ass. And it makes me think of Bayonetta, too, where it's like, this is a weird, like, so explicitly sexualized character that just exists, like, in a way to be titillating. But, oh man, she's just so fucking cool and good at doing it. How mad can I be? Like, yeah, it's a little problematic and it's incredibly hyperbolic, but I'm there for it.
Well, I think in both cases, I don't know about, I think in both cases, but definitely in the Sylvando case, what saves it is it has a lot of the stereotypes, but of, like, homosexuality, but none of, like, super... Like, Sylvando, basically what I'm saying is, he can be super effeminate at times, but he's never, like, cowardly. Like, he never, like, screams or fawns. Like, when shit gets real, he's like, oh, time to grab my sword and my whip and do some of the most badass shit imaginable.
Yeah, no, and that's great, and no one ever questions it, and this is reminding me of, I'm not one of those guys that's, like, totally in love with the movie Tombstone. Like, I don't hate it. I think it's a pretty good movie.
But it's not like a cultural... You don't go around saying, I'll be your Huckleberry, just at random interludes.
Well, no, I do, because that's the thing. It has so much good stuff in it. And I wasn't even going to bring up Val Kilmer, but he's obviously just like a consistent shining light throughout that entire thing. But Billy Zane has a small part as... he's part of a theater troupe, and I can't remember if he's, like, actually involved with the love interest or if he himself is, like, ambiguously gay or whatever. But, he's, like, a super pretty theater guy in the town of, like, the nastiest, dirtiest cowboys, and he shows up, and they're like, oh, look at a little soft boy trying to put on a play, RDRR, and they're relentless until he actually puts on his production, and, I can't even remember. It's giving some, I think, like, I don't know, speech from a Shakespeare play. Probably. And everyone's, like, shooting guns and throwing shit and just trying to intimidate and scare him, and he just goes all the way through it. By the end of it, they're like, oh, you're all right, sass pants. Like, we find your existence an abomination, but you got grit, so we have that in common. And just that, I don't know. I like the idea of that you can't help but respect the character. And Tombstone's a weird example because it's obviously they're so negative about it. But in these other games, it's kind of like, well, ain't nobody going to keep that guy down. He's too cool, whatever he's up to.
Yeah.
Man. That felt good. Now I'm like, we have to take like a hard left.
Well, no, we can say, so we're talking about, weird, flamboyant imagery and whatever, and I think that's the perfect way to transition into talking about Adam West, which is the only thing I want to talk about, and none of the rest of this episode.
Okay, Kyle, agreed. Let's see.
Isn't Adam West great?
God damn it, he's just... I was wondering, and I'm glad you feel the same way, because I'm like, is it just like my nostalgia? Is it just that, like, because, like, he's such, like, a cultural icon, and, even though he's, the campiest Batman, and not everyone goes for that, at the same time, everyone seems to agree that he just nails it for the role he's in. But all of that, I'm like, well, is that all baggage I'm bringing into this, or in any context, no matter what he's doing, is Adam West just a delight, And I think that's probably what it is. He shines so much brighter than everyone around him.
He has the riz, the charisma. Like, he is just, you can see why he was a good Batman, because, like, he speaks and you just want to stop whatever you're, like, he's saying nothing, and admittedly, he does not have, like, a lot to work with in this episode, but basically, whenever he opens his mouth, you're like, forget whatever else was going on, I want to listen to that guy.
Well, when you talk about that riz, too, like, it makes me think of one of the lines in the episode is, they're all judging their, or rating their favorite Batmans. And something I liked is how Adam West, while having a personal investment in it, as the character he's playing in the episode, who is still Adam West, but he has some investment in it, but he's not real raw about, where he is on the list. But I like how he points out, like, oh, all these other Batmans, had to have these giant muscles and suits, but my suit was nothing but 100% Adam West meat. And I think about that, and I'm like, well, yeah, that's like, I don't think anyone was ever looking at the Adam West suit and being like, that's not what Batman's supposed to look like. He's supposed to look like a human tank that has a little bit of hair on it. And that he owns it, and there's like no insecurity about. That's what I've been thinking about.
So Wolowitz is like, because he says, no, I think I was a better Batman than Christian Bale, and Wolowitz is like, really, Christian Bale? Because he's like, immortalized. He's like, I'm Batman, and Adam West is like, yeah, but the thing is, I never had to say I'm Batman. I showed up, and they knew I was Batman.
Yeah,
and it's just like, hell yeah, man, yeah, you did.
Well, and it's like. Was this, like, episode written by somebody who, like, so truly loves Adam West and respects him that they wanted to make sure that this was coming across? Or is it a case where he just elevates the material?
I think a little bit of both. I think so go ahead and summarize the episode, and then we'll jump right back into
we're getting
this.
so carried away by Mr. West here. But yeah, so this is officially the 17th episode of the 9th season of the television series known as The Big Bang Theory. And the unofficial official fan summary from the wiki reads, Amy wants to throw a birthday party for Sheldon's 36th birthday. That's a number that all of these characters have been relatively just ageless in my mind. Late 20s, early 30s. To hear 36, I don't like that. That's too firm a number, but that's okay. That's the very first sentence. Moving on. Amy wants to throw a birthday party for Sheldon's 36th birthday. Initially, Sheldon is scared because of his past experience as a kid, but changes his mind, and his friends come up with ideas including inviting Adam West (parentheses TV's Batman). And yeah, well, it's like there are other things that happen in this episode where, yeah, Sheldon doesn't want to have a birthday party, and he says it's in large part because just growing up, his twin sister would not only all of her friends would come to the party, but he didn't have any friends to come in the first place, and so the kids he invited didn't like him and wouldn't come. And then on top of that, all of his sister's friends who did come for the twin birthday party would ruthlessly bully him. And so he, there's actually, because we got to get back to the Adam West talk, but it's just on the Sheldon subject, like, that's basically the entire episode. They do get Adam West and bring him in.
Yeah, this is what I think of as other shows do this from time to time too. This show has frankly done it more than once. This is what I think of as a taking a lap episode, where it's just like this episode is mostly so we can all sit around and admire how far the show has come, which is like we've been here however many seasons now. We've had all these delightful supporting actors who we're all going to bring in and see if they can have like one line apiece, and we're going to acknowledge that in the narrative of this show, it's turned into something kind of wholesome, where it started out with a wacky, like, obnoxious scientist, but now, or actually it started out with the story of, can this other scientist get laid with this pretty blonde girl? And now it's mostly like the Sheldon Cooper show, where we both like roll our eyes, but kind of appreciate at the same time the silly warmth of Sheldon Cooper. And so everybody, like almost everyone who has ever had a meaningful recurring role in the show is in this one, at least for like 5 seconds, including Leslie Winkle, who we haven't seen in forever.
That was a huge surprise.
And who obviously was not actually there at the same time as all the other characters because of how they shoot her insert, but that's fine.
I didn't even think about it. If anything, and I was obviously bedazzled here. I was so impressed that they got so many of the other actors together in one room.
Yeah.
That I just assumed she had to have been grouped in, but I was not noticing.
Well, that's just the thing. For some reason, my brain clocks more these days. But the bit where she talks to Leonard is shot very tight, so you can't see who else is in the room. And then there's a close up of her giving, because all of the recurring actors give like a little toast to Sheldon, and hers is tied up against her, and then when you show the crowd reaction, you only see the back of her, and I'm like, that's not her, that's another lady in a dress and a wig, doing the stand-in.
I know that's like a real thing that happens all the time in TVs and movies, to be the stand-in. That's gotta feel so undignified, just to be like, I'm not allowed to move, I'm not allowed to speak, I'm just here to look like the back end of someone more important than myself. And I'm getting paid to do it, but...
all part of the job, man.
I know it is. I'm not saying the work itself is undignified, all right? But just the feeling of doing it, I don't know. Be like, I'm here today to be Tom Cruise's Shadow, which, I don't know, Shadow makes more money than I ever will.
But anyway, so the closest thing this episode had to anything truly sweet or cute to me was the moment in the bathroom where Sheldon gets a little emotionally overwhelmed, which is real, frankly.
Actually, Kyle, I'm glad you brought that up, because that is the exact only other moment I wanted to bring up for that reason. Hey, guess what's up? We're bonding again, neurodivergent buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually do successfully throw in the party, and part of that is getting Adam West involved to be at the party because, it was also, I guess part of the bullying was either Sheldon's sister or one of the friends telling him that, maybe none of your friends made it, but Batman is going to make it for sure. And of course, that doesn't happen. And so the gift is to get Batman to appear. Incredibly sweet gift. The party works out. Everyone's happy, except Sheldon, being the center of attention, does. It's not like a blow up, but he's like, oh, well, this sucks. This is too much, and runs to the bathroom, and Penny has to come in and help him mellow.
Yeah, very, very relatable. It's
yes.
like if you're of a certain type of personality, everybody in a room suddenly looking at you and giving you their full attention is just a little bit, even when it's nice, it's a little bit,
Well, to shoehorn in a very immediately recent personal experience, I had that happen last night, and it feels so fucking silly having that sensation, especially given the context, because I was, it was part of a sci-fi burlesque show fundraiser thing that I did a stand-up set for. And so it's all these big personalities, all these, different kinds of, performance artists and burlesque people, various states of undress, all sorts of things that could overwhelm your sights and your senses, and none of that gets to me. But then, when it's the end of the show and people are giving thumbs up and applauds and whatever, and the gang, it's my turn to get praise. I'm just like, okay, now this is too far. This is all the other shit we've been through tonight is normal, but all of you looking at me and trying to engage me with you right now, I'm gonna tap out. And so seeing Sheldon and I guess he's 36 here apparently. I don't know, the same thing of being an adult and being oh, I'm overwhelmed. I know this is irrational, but here I am. So, hey, thank you, Sheldon, for representing.
And then Penny, I thought, gives a sweet little speech where she's like, I probably would have bullied you when I was a kid, too, and I'm sort of glad that I'm a different person now and that I've grown to get to know you. Although, again, while it's very sweet, it does feel a little bit as always, I'm like, what has Sheldon really done to earn any of these accolades? Because he is still, on an episode-to-episode basis, pretty insufferable and obtuse. But whatever, I guess we're not going to think about that too much.
Well, let's think about it a little here, because I don't think this is intentional. And maybe this is even a little too mean to Sheldon, but running with the premise that he hasn't really done anything to win her over or earn her friendship. I think nonetheless, you just build these friendships of proximity. And I don't think they're good friendships, but literally you're just around someone for so long that you're God damn it, you've become so part of my life and my routines that not having you in there would somehow be upsetting. So I guess I love you, buddy. And yeah. I feel that's kind of where, absent other explanations, definitely Penny is in that gang. I think she's in that. I think that's how she is with everybody in the group but Leonard. And maybe Raj. I don't.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Anyway, so Adam West.
Yeah. God damn. His
performance in this episode is also pitch perfect because he's I'm happy to sit here and talk, but let's be very clear. I am here for the paycheck. It's I am putting in an appearance. This is a paid performance. I do expect to get a paycheck at the end of the night, no matter what happens.
Well, but, man, I hate to have to keep using the term Riz, but such is the vernacular of our times. Again, as you're describing that, and the way it comes across in the show, it doesn't sound like he's, crotchety or miserly about it. That's the other thing. He's even congenial about what a surface level interaction it is.
Yes.
It's just no offense, guys, this is a lot of fun, but I mean, if I don't get paid, you're gonna have to learn that some of that stuff on set was real, and these dukes go kapow when they enter your face. And it never goes that far, but I imagine even if it did, you'd still be buddy, I mean, I don't know, just tell me a story about what it was like as you're hitting me, and I'll be okay with it, because it's like, I don't know, I feel weird, like, trying to describe, like, what he even gets up to, because he's a piece of furniture in this episode. Like, they pick him up, they bring him to the party, and he sits there, and he just glows for a while.
Yeah.
And then they bring him home, and everything else in the episode. Well, there is one other funny thing, I thought, which doesn't get much attention, but, again, they bring in so many characters. They have Leonard's mom show up, and she only has a couple lines, but Kripke is there, which is always weird when he's like. There's some jokes like Stewart makes about not really feeling part of the group, and I really thought him and Leslie were gonna bang. I wanted to see that go down, but alas, but Kripke shows up, and anytime he's on the show, I'm like, well, nobody even pretends to be friends with you. Why are you here? But he is, and he's trying to bang Leonard's mom, and he's doing a pretty good job. And Leonard just can't do anything about it. And I want more, because, like, not only is that such a miserable situation if it were to happen at all, but given that, like, even at this stage of the show, like, Leonard's mom just kind of puts up with him, like, that she would not come to his birthday party. She's only there for Sheldon. And I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't love Leonard as a character. You know, I find him the least charming of almost anyone in the show. But I feel like this would be a good example to be like, let's really explore that psychological trauma you're going through, because you're having a great night. You're married to a beautiful woman, and yet the most obnoxious man you know is about to get physical love from the only woman who you want it from and will never get it. None of that happens. That's just me wanting to have another show.
Yeah. Oh, I'm pretty sure Kripke went home with Leonard's mom. Like, they just cut away, but she seems into it last we see of them.
Yeah, so very much.
There's no reason to think he didn't bang Kripke's mom.
Well, and I guess another reason I like it so much is, like, it's funny. It's genuinely funny, just her, because she is so cold, and even when she's nice to Sheldon, it's just that she's not mean, you know? And so, like, relatively, by being completely dry and flat with him, you're like, I guess that is kind of warm and affectionate. But yeah, with, like, Kripke, she's like, oh, stop. Oh. And it's like, Jesus Christ. Like, I know that, you know, it wouldn't look like this to most outsiders, but you're the horniest anyone has ever been if you're, like, being nice to Kripke. But it's all background noise, you know? Yeah, Adam West, everyone's just happy to have him there, and I'm one of them. And it's a sad thing he's not going to be back. You know, I'm going to say he's number 2 favorite celebrity so far. I do not think he beats...
James Earl Jones?
Yeah, God, thank you. I almost said Edward James Olmos. Those two names, they just jumble together in my mind. I have the same problem with... This is really unfortunate, and I'll see if I can remember all 3. With Keith David. David... I can't remember from the... Oh, he just... Oh, no, Toby Todd, Tony Todd, and Toby Keith. Those 3 names, 2 actors and a country star, get mixed up in my head. And, man, 2 out of 3 of them are dead now. So I guess that solves most of the problem. Anywho.
Well, that's all. I mean, I started to say, I sometimes get confused between, I don't think this is gonna make me sound, but just a second. Let me check here. Yeah, I get Carl Weathers and Keith David confused a lot, but I'm literally confused about which roles each of them played a lot of the time, and I hope that's not like super racist of me. But they were just they both had the peak of their careers was around the same time, and they both played very like ultra masculine dudes in several movies. So I get them confused.
Well, then you should be ashamed for that, but I understand. It's not like my thing where there were two black guys and one white guy I'm mixing up. That
Yeah,
at
you're
least
just getting
evens
confused
it out.
because their names sound the same. Apparently, I don't know if this is really true, but apparently once upon a time someone gave James Earl Jones a plaque that said, "Thank you for your contributions to the African American community, James Earl Ray."
Oh no!
I think about that all the time. I'm like, that can't really have happened, but at the same time, their names do sound a lot alike, so...
This is a silly one-time thing, but we're at the office having a conversation about, well, let's say that the country went further to the right faster than you can imagine, and our one, ethnically Arab coworker had to change his name to sound more white. And his name, he's still alive, Qasim Abdul-Baki. And someone immediately was like, oh, well, that's going to be Casey Allen Baker. And it was like, holy shit! It's like, did you have that loaded?
Superpower.
Yeah. And
damn.
It's nuts how that works. You're like, I mean, how can you so quickly Anglophile something? But I don't know. That's stuck in my mind ever since. So, and the future isn't turned out exactly how we expected. Might still be a good thing to keep in the back pocket, that extra name. With that, Kyle, anything else about this episode?
No, I just wanted to say, I think what was going on here, just in the macro, Adam West, is he had sort of a, I don't know how he, as I'll talk about in my recommendations, he may have gone through a period where he personally felt affected by this. But basically, as a culture, we have gone, I think we've come around and it's beautiful. But we went from the Batman and Robin TV show was a legitimate breakout hit when it came out. Like, it was not like small scale. It was like a huge deal. Everybody loved it when it was first, on the air. Kids and adults, and huge merchandising potential, probably as big a deal as any TV show of its time. And then it went through a period where it was sort of mostly forgotten about as the mainstream moved on, and Batman, the Tim Burton movies came out, and that sort of changed what everybody else thought about Batman. And then in the nerd community in particular, they got kind of hostile because they were like, oh man, that show made Batman seem silly, and he's not silly, he's serious, and we hate that. Which is actually ironically the same thing that happens to Tim Burton Batman movies once the Christopher Nolan Batman movies came out. So there was this whole arc there where everybody had either forgotten Adam West was Batman, or was basically contrasting, how silly that show was with the good Batman stuff, or was legitimately angry about it. And then I think eventually we turned another corner where it's long enough ago and there have been so many iterations of Batman that everybody looks back and it's like, for its time that was great. What a perfectly reasonable portrayal of the character. Fun, psychedelic, very of its era, but colorful, and again, particularly sort of cemented by the performance that Adam West gave to that character, where, it was not the weird method acty performance we've come to associate with Batman, but he played it with a sort of winking seriousness that really works most of the time.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun, that old show. I watched it because it would be, I don't know, just rerunning on whatever channel is trying to appease elderly people in the middle of the day that, sometimes kids home from school are also allowed to watch. And no, it's fun. It's super campy, but it's, very of the time. It's like a 60s, 70s show, and so things that, might now look like they're completely ironic were less ironic at the time, but it was still all silly and knew what it was doing. But also, it's just I don't know, I still have to go see Superman, but even just talking about it and knowing that there's some light shining through the clouds of grimness that have been in so many of these movies, and just a podcaster describing the trailer to The Batman was like, I don't know if I want to see it. You know, it's just like, apparently Gotham is now a place where no one exists except for criminals and victims. And there is like no one who is not just on the verge of being brutally assaulted, and that's the entire world. I don't know, maybe sometimes Batman should dance, you know? Maybe sometimes he should have a fun date with a sassy criminal and see where things go. Like, that's fun too, right? Doesn't all have to be just dark, 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 sad, sad, sad. This is serious. How could you not take it seriously?
Yeah, I agree. It's like, and it's, again, I think even more than a particular Batman show, it holds up as just a good artifact of like what TV was like in the 60s when it was coming out. Because it is very, like, aesthetically, because, I mean, the word campy gets thrown around, also psychedelic, which I think is, you know, both those things are a little, it's just like there's a lot more pink than you would expect, and just like a lot more like hot colors. It's all sort of like a vaguely LSD vibe in a way that really works. Also, and this is my last, the other thing that that is legitimately true apparently about Adam West and that show is during the time it was at its peak, Adam West, unlike a lot of other TV stars who were, maybe more buttoned up, he apparently was just the most decadent, debaucherous motherfucker on the planet, which I also appreciate. Like, during the time that he was like a TV star, he was like, I'm going to make the most of this and do as much cocaine and bang as many hookers as is humanly possible during this experience. So he really enjoyed that ride, and I appreciate that too.
And you know what? The way he appears in this episode, it's like he's looking back on a life well lived.
Absolutely.
You know, he's not on the Big Bang Theory, you know, being like, this is one of the last in a series of many regretful decisions I've made. He's like, yeah, what's this? Another day in the life of Adam West? Hell yeah, I'm here to have a good time. I am getting paid. But this is fun. This is fun.
Yes.
All right. It's kind, we had a nice little Adam West sandwich on this episode.
It's going to come around again in my recommendations, but you go ahead and do yours.
Okay. Well, I'll do a two-parter, both of them brief. After hearing maybe the most mixed opinions I've ever heard on a movie and having great apprehension going into it, I can now say Beau is Afraid kicks ass.
Oh, cool.
Have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it, but I am curious about it.
Yeah,
The way I'm curious about all of Ari Aster's films without ever wanting to see any of them ever again.
Hey, Kyle, well, this one is another hit in that same vein. So many people like described this as just being basically like a panic attack in the form of a movie, and like just the worst, most like anxious, miserable time you can have stretched out over like a couple hours. And that's like kind of true, but those are people who don't know how to have any fun either, because this movie is explicitly a comedy. It is a really fucked up and weird, dark comedy, but it's a funny movie. And I don't know what exactly the situation was with it not succeeding, whether people just like weren't into the vibe overall.
Well, probably because up to that point he had only made like weird horror art films, and it doesn't sound, I mean, this may be an art film, but it's not like it sounds like it's different.
Well, and that's exactly what I was about to say, is that whether the difference in expectation versus what people got was too jarring, because I can't say it's not a horror movie either, but it's like, just for example, in the whole movie at its core is Beau is a very quiet, anxious man. I can't remember how old he's actually supposed to be. He looked like he's about 50. Living a miserable little life in a miserable little dumpy apartment. And he is pressured into going on a trip to see his mom. And that's all I'll say, because the rest of it's a real adventure. But even just in that, in his apartment, and the street he lives on, he's in the middle of a city, and it doesn't look post-apocalyptic. It's like someone announced a day or two ago that the apocalypse is on, so go nuts. Because it's not like, oh, there's a scary homeless guy outside. It's like, oh, there's someone outside screaming and stabbing everyone that walks by. There's someone down here setting shit on fire. There's 3 car accidents just happened in the last 10 minutes. I can't cross the street without 7 people trying to assault me and steal everything I have. But it's not.
And that doesn't get explained?
No. And it's great too, because it's not like the city's a scary bad place, like, don't go there kind of way. It's not like trying to make it seem actually scary. It's trying to say like, this is it's condensed and amplified. Like all those anxieties that people do have about the city that are, I think, for the most part, you can dismiss. It's not like you're not going to get accosted by a random stranger. It's not like you're going to not have a bad day ever. But in Beau's world, all the worst things are always happening at the same time. And it's like a cartoon. And it's just like more and more pressure, and like you just every time you think there's going to be a moment of relief, like something worse happens in an unexpected way, and you're just like, God damn, you just can't. And so that's what I'll say is it is a comedy first and foremost that is very just weird and dark and sad, and if you're not on that level, it's just not going to work. It's not even a satire. Like, you know, it's not like trying to it's not like it doesn't have meaning in it. You know, it's not like there isn't like real story and character development, but it's not trying to like make a point. It's just just a fun time. So Beau is Afraid, I highly recommend. Oh, only caveat I'll say is too long. It is, I'm looking at the runtime again right now, a minute shy of 3 hours, which, you know, I watched it streaming. I did have the benefit of watching it in multiple parts, and I think it needs it because this is too long. So great movie, except for that part. And then other thing I'll recommend real quick, I'll see even less about it. The new King of the Hill is good.
Good. I'm rewatching the old stuff in preparation, so it'll only take me about 3 years before I'm ready to watch the new one. But I am glad to hear that.
No, I dove right in, reckless abandon, and it's good. The only thing I'll say, and I have adjusted to it, whoever is now doing Dale's voice, takes a moment. It's not exactly a carbon copy. And so, you know, and what are they going to do? Like resurrect somebody or use AI? That'd be gross. But that's it. Like, it's there. Everything about the feel about it, it's nice. It feels so, like, you know, shows come back, and I don't know, you know, what its longevity is or how long what it's gonna look like, but they can go so many ways. They can feel like hollow shells of themselves. And this, it's like, oh no, this is absolutely still King of the Hill. I guess I'll say one last thing. It's like the basic premise to get it going again. And so Hank and Peggy, the framework that puts them back into fish out of water cultural perspective for us to see through is they are returning to America from a long stint in Saudi Arabia. And so they are getting used to how much more freaky deaky the U.S. is since they've been gone for 15 years or whatever. But it's great. So, yeah, in a few years, Macaulay, you're reminding me, there's another podcast I've been listening to, Scott hasn't seen, and they have a running gag in there about how Scott Aukerman, the host, wanted to start watching The Pit. And so he's like, okay, well, I guess I have to watch all 12 seasons of ER first. And so every couple episodes, he gives his ER update as he descends further and further into madness because the show just keeps getting worse and worse. Which, you know, I don't think you'll have the same problem with King of the Hill, but from the most recent updates, it sounds like that show went on about 6 years too long and that it nearly broke a man. So,
All right, so I will go ahead and bifurcate my recommendation as well, if that's okay. Because the first I'm going to be real again, not because I assume even you will go see this at some point. It's almost obligatory now. I saw Weapons the day it came out.
Yeah, I mean, I am going to see it. That's the one I just got to get off my ass and go do.
Yeah, really good. Weirdly, like, the one thing I'll say about it is that it's weird, actually, at this point, to watch a horror movie, and people will make fun of me about this, because arguably it's an incredibly, rich movie in terms of, like, its metaphors, central metaphor or whatever. But it's weird, frankly, to watch a horror movie that's this good and this well made that has so little interest in subtext. In a way that's
yeah.
In a way that's frankly, it just the whole time felt a little disorienting to me. I walked out of it like, that was really good, and it was about exactly what it was about. Like, people are writing and talking about, like, oh, well, you know, the thing that happens in the movie could be a metaphor for this, or it could be a metaphor for that. And all of that is absolutely true and fair. Like, it's not like that like, in the same way that, like, you know, the original, like, Night of the Living Dead could be about like racism or whatever. Like, if you want to exhume the cultural metaphors of what's going on in our society that clearly informed that movie, there is plenty to do there. But at the same time, in the movie itself, it's mostly just people reacting, actually, frankly, a little low affect to how fucked up things are going on. Like, the movie, I mean, this is not a spoiler. This is like in the trailers, and this is also where the movie starts. It's like, the premise of the movie is that 16 children disappeared overnight from this one school, and no one knows what happened to them or why, and no one has been able to figure it out. And so the rest of the movie is like, what do we do about that? But I was expecting sort of like a Twin Peaks meditation on, like, grief and loss and the unknowable and all that stuff, and it is none of that. It is very much like, we jump right into, like, you know, some dad being like, I'm pretty sure I can still figure this out, and then, like, a teacher who's like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to figure this out, but I am still gonna just, like, go about my life and, like, maybe drink a little more and fuck some people I shouldn't fuck. And so insofar as it's about people reacting almost I mean, I think the weirdest thing to me is the action picks up fairly soon after that happens. And people, frankly, don't seem, based on, like, my normal experience of movies like this, they don't seem, like, devastated and traumatized enough. Although, again, I've been on Twitter and TikTok and everything else, some good arguments have been made that, like, yeah, that's kind of the, like, part of it is, like, how communities have become desensitized to the incredibly, like, horrific shit that happens to them. And I was like, oh, when you put it like that, it does make sense. But but mostly it's just, like, a good, my one real complaint about it is that it had similar, you know how in Barbarian, which is the other movie made by the same guy, it starts with one perspective and it gets, like, to, like, this really intense point, and then it cuts away to, like, another perspective, and you have to wait, like, another 30 minutes for those two, like, points of view to unify again.
Sure.
This movie does that, like, 6 times, and that's just not, like, my favorite. I would have preferred a more straightforward structure, but they do make it work. Like, there's nothing, like, this movie is objectively very good. It's just, it does things so differently than what I was expecting. I still haven't fully, like, wrapped my head around it. And then again, and most of it, I think, is stuff like you'll appreciate, Nick, because it's like, we're not interested in, like, what this is a metaphor for. We're interested in, like, this is if anything, it's like a very old, like, fairy tale or horror story just set in the modern day, played completely straight. And that is like cool. You know, that was not what I was expecting, but watching it from beginning to end, I was like, hell yeah, this is very impressive that this is what this is. So, you know, you'll see it, you'll form your own opinions, let me know what you think.
Okay.
But I'd be surprised if you didn't like it. And anyway, so the other thing, as long as we're talking about Adam West,
yes,
is I'm gonna recommend. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this episode before, but I'm gonna recommend a specific episode of Batman the Animated Series.
You have talked about this before, and I'm looking forward to this being the recommendation.
Yeah, so I should say again, as his career kind of came around and he became sort of respected as a member of like culture and our common pop culture lore. Adam West had a really resurgent career as a voice actor. He was a recurring, almost a series regular on Family Guy for a while as the mayor, which was great. And he was in several Batman-related properties, including in one other really heartbreaking episode, he plays Batman's dad. But this one, the first time as far as I know, he ever did any voice acting, was in an episode of Batman the Animated Series that is clearly kind of a love letter to him and his career. Because the premise of the episode, again, Batman the Animated Series was trying to be a pretty, I won't say grounded, but it tried really hard to tell really like mature and sophisticated stories within the sort of confines of the 30-minute medium, animated medium. And so they all felt like little mini movies and they're all really good. But in this particular episode, Batman, there's been a series of bombings in Gotham and Batman is investigating the bombings and something like tickles the back of his head. It's like there's something weird and familiar about the way these bombings are being conducted. And because he's able to figure out that the person doing the bombings is like using little remote control cars that are strapped with dynamite. And he's like, I've seen this before. What criminal did this before that I am remembering and yet I haven't encountered? And then he remembers, oh, this isn't a thing that really happened. This is a thing that happened on a TV show I watched when I was a kid with my dad. And he cuts back in time to little Bruce Wayne watching a show called The Gray Ghost. The name of the episode, by the way, is called The Gray Ghost Strikes Again. So when Batman was a kid, he watched a TV show called The Gray Ghost, which was very much about a Batman-esque noirish vigilante fighting crime while dressed up as, sort of like a Green Hornet style or Shadow style, like noir hero. Mm-hmm. And he even goes back, he's able to find the episode, but it's a two-parter and the second part was like lost to time, so nobody has it. So he realizes that the only person who might remember how that episode aired is the actor who played the Gray Ghost. So he goes to find him, and that actor is voiced by Adam West, and he plays sort of, again, I don't know, I'm hoping this wasn't informed that much by his real career, but the idea is that after playing the Gray Ghost, this guy has had his career ruined because that's all anybody associates him with, and he can't get any other work. And there's this really heartbreaking moment where Batman is sort of spying on him, and he's on the phone with his agent, and another part just fell through, and he's like, come on, man, I'm an actor. I need to work. It's like, and he's just like, just let me act. And he can't. And he's just sort of, it's clearly broken him. And he looks around and he's surrounded by all this Gray Ghost memorabilia and he smashes it. And the idea is he feels really haunted by this role and that nobody appreciates it anyway. And it's at that point that Batman swoops in to sort of tell him, I need your help with this case. And it ends up with him putting on the Gray Ghost costume and the two of them teaming up to solve the mystery of who's behind this bombing. And, that part's frankly not that interesting, but the main, it's just first off, it's really seeing Adam West like flex his acting muscles, because it's one of the few times he's not just playing sort of like a cavalier version of himself. He gets really vulnerable in his performance. So that's quite interesting. And then it has this whole obviously meta component to it, because you have Kevin Conroy playing the modern Batman teaming up with like Adam West, who's playing like an older version of a similar character, and they solve this mystery together. And at the end, sort of the button of it. Oh, well, it has two parts because at the in the middle of their adventure, Batman tells the Gray Ghost, he's like, you may not think of yourself as much of a you may not think your career was worth much, but the Gray Ghost was my hero when I was a child. I used to watch it with my father. And the Gray Ghost is like, really? He's like, yeah, it's a big part of what I do. Which I think in the meta narrative of Batman is true. Batman has always been informed by like both previous like heroes who inspired like the persona of Batman, and also previous iterations of Batman always inform the next iteration. So that's very true in a very real way. But then at the end of the episode, after Adam West pulls his fat out of the fire and together they save the day, he decides he's going to go ahead and go to another comic signing and sign all the autographs for the fans and make his money the way he knows how to make it and make some peace with his career. And Bruce Wayne walks up to him and is like, would you mind signing this for me? And he's like, sure, absolutely, son. And he's like, he says, I used to watch this show with my father. The Gray Ghost was my hero. And you know what? Still is. And then he walks and he walks away, leaving the secret of his secret identity and his admiration for Adam West is sort of like the button of the episode. And it's just all great. It's just all the feels.
Beautiful, beautiful Batman, man. That's a show I really need to go back to, too, because that's something where I haven't watched a lot of it as an adult, but, like, it's just magnetic as a kid, how it stood out from, like, anything else, like, trying to be, like, I don't know, not just like a superhero thing, but there's something so much more classy and sophisticated about the whole operation.
Frankly, the weird thing is, and this is not, I don't know, maybe if I watch more of it, but a couple, like just last year, I think, they tried to make a new similar style Batman show. I can't remember what it's, Batman the Caped Crusader or something like that, which is even more explicitly like informed by, it's set in like a 1940s Gotham, and all of it's like basically about like a golden age, like 1940s Batman fighting like gangsters and like, the earliest iterations of all of his villains in sort of a Max Fleischer-esque way. And you know what? I watched the first episode and I was like, this is fine, but it's actually not as good as Batman the Animated Series, because Batman the Animated Series actually wasn't so, like, it basically, the thing I think that makes, well, there are a lot of things you just can't recapture about that show, one of which is just the amount of money that was put into it and the amount of, like, sophisticated animation that was put into it, which is what, like, it was not just, like, an expensive cartoon show for its time. I think it would be more expensive if you were trying to remake the exact same show today. It's basically, like, part of why it looks so good is because they spent so much money on like the quality of the hand-drawn animation and the backdrops and things like that. But also, the storytelling, because they wanted to, like, they didn't want to commit to a particular like technological era. It's this weird Art Deco hybrid of, like, it's the modern day in that there are computers and virtual reality, but it's also like the 1940s in that everybody is always wearing a suit and tie, and all of the skyscrapers and cars are very Art Deco. So because it has that, the setting has sort of this postmodern feel that makes it feel archetypal and timeless in a way, which also then makes Batman and his performance feel sort of archetypal and timeless. And I don't think any other version of any other animated or live action version of the character has ever captured that, or will probably ever be able to again.
Yeah, it was very. I feel like too, it's I might be misremembering the timeline, but I feel like it was coming out along a Superman show that I think was like maybe similar crossover production teams, or like maybe just the same network, but like watching the both of the shows and being like, I know that these are trying to do the same thing, but one of these is clearly just nailing it and the other is kind of boring. And I couldn't...
it's actually,
oh, go ahead.
I'll tell you in my endless hyperfixation about this. The first 2 seasons of Batman the Animated Series were produced before the Superman show came out, and then the second, maybe even the first 3 seasons. And yeah, I think the first 3 seasons were produced before the Superman show comes out. And then the Superman show comes out, and they decide that they're going to unify a lot of the art style of the 2 shows. So after the 3rd season of Batman the Animated Series, it becomes The Adventures of Batman, and it looks very aesthetically, it's very different, and the stories are slightly more kid friendly, although there are still some really dark ones in that era. But it became more, the 2 became more like unified in their sensibilities so that they could have crossovers and stuff.
I see. So even as a little youth, I could tell when even someone like Batman may have sold out a little bit. That's okay, Batman. We've all been there. You're a billionaire.
This is how good that show was. A lot of the ways in which that TV show introduced like the origins of the villains and like their particular it just became the way those villains are like to this day. Like the version of Mr. Freeze who appears in almost all media is based on the version from Batman the Animated Series. And
it brought us Harley Quinn.
And Harley Quinn, obviously, yeah. So it's just, and a lot of them play out like almost, as good. Arguably, this is the best way to do it. A lot of the best episodes of Batman the Animated Series play like Twilight Zone episodes where the focus is some particular like mad scientist or broken person who finds themselves in the grip of some like tragedy or monstrous transformation into a supervillain or whatever. And Batman is just kind of like there to wrap things up at the end. He's just like, he's almost like the Rod Sterling of the show who shows up to make sure like, everything gets handled correctly.
Yeah.
But he's, a lot of times he's just observing like someone else go through like a crisis of conscience or faith or whatever.
Well, maybe, and this is off the dome here, part of the reason that this particular series resonates so well is that's like Batman doing detective shit. It's not all about him fighting and trying to be like scary or like, being like, I love when Bruce Wayne is like a major dickhead, but it's not about that either. He's out there, he's doing the work, he's hitting the bricks. And I don't know, it's satisfying to see that.
He's spooking the mooks.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the best scenes of Batman the Animated Series are when some character like thinks they're alone in the room and then like a shadow moves and it's Batman and he's like, we have to talk. It's like, oh fuck. And you're like, oh, I see how that would be effective. It's like I see how you get people to tell you things, Batman.
Yeah, I don't like cops. I know my rights and I know I don't have to talk to a cop. If Batman had questions for me, I'd have to really maintain my composure, though. I'd really be like, oh, man, I don't think the forefathers thought of a Batman when they were talking about reasonable search and seizure. This is unprecedented and uncomfortable, and also your arms are so strong. Also, by the way, I did that burlesque show last night, and so there were burlesque dancers, obviously. One of them was just so strong, Kyle. Oh my god, I didn't know what I felt like all I could say after she got off stage was, oh my god, you're so strong. Hey, people are naked and sexy, that's fun, cool. But someone just like doing push-ups, like with both of her legs up in the air, I'm like, oh, you could murder anyone you wanted to in this room. You have complete control over your body and you're a living weapon. That's cool. Cool. Yeah, I guess people should throw some dollar bills at you. It was a good time.